We must warn ourselves that the erstwhile colonial master is alive and well, subterranean and pernicious to the core. Don't delude yourselves. And remember that sometimes the disunity of Africa is big business.
We are not afraid, and we will never be afraid. They have surely scared many African heads of state. We need to unite, but they have always been there to divide us, to be able to reign on us through slavery.
We were given fake independence. We were given independence by name. The multinational companies that existed during colonization, they have never left Africa to this day. To what extent are we going to continue to be stupid? To what extent are we going to continue to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction? To what extent are we going to stand up and say enough is enough?
Hello brothers and sisters, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from now. The African continent is welcoming the children of Africa back home. The diaspora, the Caribbeans, are now being welcomed by various leaders to Africa. Now, this is a wake-up call that has been going around Africa. There is a revolution to unite all black people, to unite the African continent, and to make sure that Africa gets to be ready to manage itself. Africa needs to develop. African people and the black people and the diaspora needs to unite and make sure that the black race is being respected. So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it.
But what they had forgotten was that the people of Burkina Faso had understood our message. And had engaged in the same way as we did. We reorganized quickly, and suddenly we noticed that all the sleeping terrorists had woken up in Burkina Faso. We reorganized the army as quickly as possible. At an unequal speed, we have created several units, and even if several others are yet to come, we have equipped them. And today this equipment continues because in the days to come, the months to come, what you will see coming to Burkina Faso must make our army a power to fear. We will not hesitate about the means. We understood that the fight against imperialism will be hard, very hard. But only the hard ones will pass, and the Burkinabes are hard, and we will pass. We have put on guard for more than a year the local valets, the slaves of Salon, so that they do not betray their country for the benefit of imperialism. Some have understood and organized themselves. Others have not understood. Maybe they thought they were smarter, but today we have no more feelings about this theft. Whoever betrays his country for the benefit of imperialism, he will be treated as such. Returning to our famous ECOWAS, since we decided to leave the ECOWAS, the slaves of Salon have been driven everywhere. They want to scare the people. They want to scare everyone. God, thank you. In a recent past, there were only a handful of people who had the right to speak. On the TV sets, that's what they said, who were ready for the gospel. Today, with the new technologies, which of course have advantages and disadvantages, everyone has the right to speak. And I think the Yayiyayes are the first to confirm this. Everyone can make his own analysis of a situation. We can certainly make mistakes, but when we come to understand, we are open to explain the process. Here we will explain to you why we left the ECOWAS and where we are going. Remember that it was in 1975 that it was created. And it was created for the majority of state leaders, putschists, as they like to say. It was the military who took the power and took the responsibility to create the ECOWAS, so that there was a real economic growth of the people inside this space. Later, the so-called Democrats were invited to the heads of our states. They completely emptied the community of its foundation. When on June 26, Nigeria decided to take its destiny into its own hands, we were surprised to see the ECOWAS appear on June 16th with a force in wait. Where was this force? When thousands and thousands of Nigerians were killed by terrorists. Where was this force? When thousands of Malians and Burkinabés died under the bullets of terrorists. They said that by force they were going to house the valiant sons of Nigeria who took the destiny into their own hands. Do you believe that these are women who are in Nigeria? There are fighters there. The Nigerian army is a warrior. It has been fighting for years. It is not a parade army or a peacekeeping army. And the armies of the ECOWAS have decided to unite. We are waiting for this force in wait. It is important that these so-called Democrats understand this. When thousands of Nigerians die in hospital beds due to lack of electricity or lack of medication, it is a crime. They are responsible for these sanctions. They are responsible for these deaths. The same thing happens in Mali. With Burkina, we have indirect sanctions, because people have to understand. When they take their orders from the other side, they come and do everything to apply it. It is shameful. Some have decided not to provide electricity to our countries. It is not free. We pay, and it contributes to their economy. They have tried to make Mali suffer. And of course, by ignoring all the texts and not providing electricity to Mali, hoping that the population would revolt. It does not work. When it lasted, some were forced to make their own people pay by increasing the cost of electricity. It will increase again. This gives us several lessons. Several lessons in the sense that the independence we take, the sovereignty we take, we must do everything for it to be. They have given us very good lessons, and we have understood very well. Some have closed their ports, which goes against all international texts, because we cannot close our ports in a landless country. They did it. They violated the text. The international community did not say a word.
I am not a politician and I don't beat around the bush. I am a soldier and I prefer to tell you the truth. Everyone is free to take it or leave it. Everyone drives their car, everyone lives well. We eat in the morning, we eat in the afternoon and evening, and we do whatever we want to do. We are free to speak, to say what we want. This is democracy. This is the law. That's all. That's all we know in Ouagadougou. But go and see them, the children who are skin and bones. Go see those who are starving. Go see those women who can no longer breastfeed because they have nothing left in their breasts. Go see them. Let's not pretend. If our journalists don't have the courage to go out in the field and bring back these images, it's because we want to whitewash Burkina's image. I'm telling you, it's false. It exists. When I tell you about people who eat grass, those who want to contest.
The struggle for Africa is a very simple one. We're asking the Western world to do unto us what they would want done unto them. Plain and simple. We're simply speaking our truth. You see, they never change. And that's why I was asked to come here and share with you, young, bright minds, that which you need to know. As this university is preparing you for the future, for you leaders of tomorrow, you must be armed with knowledge and understanding of who you are. We have a responsibility to empower you, remind you that you are the mothers and fathers of humanity. Own your power. We must let you know what your power is. You are a black woman. That's your power. Own it. You're black men. That is your power. Own it. You are an African. That is your power. Own it. Stand on the tallest mountain and proclaim to the world who you are, the proud, the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible African. That is who you are. And no one can take that away from you unless you allow them to do so. Understand what the World Bank is doing in Ghana. Understand what the IMF is doing in Ghana. Understand what the NGOs, even the embassies in some cases, are doing in Ghana. You, the people, have the power. But how do you change your Africa if you don't understand it? The abuse and exploitation of Africa must come to an end. Imperialism must come to an end. Colonization must come to an end. We demand a free Africa that is going to be treated fairly, just like anybody else. Plain and simple. To that end, are you prepared to fight for what belongs to you? Because this is not going to be easy. Getting rid of those people out of Africa is not going to be easy. It's going to take a deep understanding and a commitment to fight. It is a crusade, make no mistake about it. It is not for the faint at heart. But we can only fight if we have that resolve and we understand that which we are fighting for. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. No one can continue to abuse us to the extent that we have been abused. You children are our future. You have the intelligence, you have the energy, and I know if we can just join hands, a little wisdom that we might share with you, and the energy that you have, You are a formidable force, and the world knows it. Africa is going to take her place on the world stage. And we, your elders, are here to support you. We are here to give you our shoulders to stand on. And once again, let me reiterate, we apologize for what we have done to our Africa. We apologize for failing to defend your Africa like we should. But all is not lost. You have our commitment. You have our support. We have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. And this time, we're going to fight with knowledge. Let's honor our ancestors. Let's honor Kwame Nkrumah. Let's honor Nanaya Asantwa, a brave and powerful lady, the gatekeeper of the stool, the golden stool for the Ashanti people. And to the young ladies, may I remind you that this moment is calling for girl power. Nanaya Asantwa, when the men wanted to give up the golden stool to the British, she stood her ground. She said to the men, if you cannot come together and defend the golden stool, Nanaya Asantwa was going to call upon her women friends. The women were going to pick up arms and fight until each and every one of them was down. But she, as a woman and the gatekeeper of the golden stool of the Ashanti kingdom, was not going to allow the British to once again humiliate us and take the golden stool which housed the spirit of the Ashanti people. So it is Nanaya Asantwa shamed the men who came together, organized, and fought to defend the golden stool, which remains in the hands of the Ashanti kingdom to this day. To the Chancellor of this very amazing university, Honorable Dr. Sam Joyner, to the Vice Chancellor, Honorable Mr. Johnson, to the diplomatic corps in the room,
and China to begin to build institutions and installations that are going to refine their uranium, refine their gold so that there is value addition. What is happening in the Sahelian region is, in my submission and in the view of many independent commentators, the beginning of the total liberation not only of those countries but the former French colonies. And it is not lost on me that the leaders of those countries are sending a very clear message. They are sending the message that any institution which makes the claim that is a Pan-African institution but is being controlled from outside will be defied. I remember that day, the day after the coup d'etat in Niger. And I remember the meetings that were held in Accra, Ghana, the meetings that were held in Abuja, Nigeria, the meetings that gave a 72-hour ultimatum to Niger and said, we are going to invade you, not in so many words, but we are not going to allow you. I remember the sanctions that were imposed upon Niger. And I remember all the three leaders, Traoré in Burkina, and I remember the new leaders in Niger. I remember the leaders in Mali saying, we are now entering into a military pact. You attack Niger, you have attacked Mali, you attack Burkina, you have attacked Mali, and you have attacked Niger, and of course, even Dumbuya in Guinea-Conakry said, we will join you. That is a new face It is a phase that was not contemplated, and the Sahelian revolution, because it is a revolution, is beginning to redefine how former French colonies are relating with France at the critical levels, including the area of trade, including control of their militaries, including control of their language. And it is not lost on me that in Mali, they have actually declared that French is no longer the national language. Bambara is now the national language. It is a clear statement that they are beginning to regain their independence, and they are doing it in a manner that was not anticipated and in a manner that was not contemplated. It begs the question, will the men in uniform continue to be in power until kingdom come? No. They have said in Burkina, they have said in Niger, they have said in Mali, they have said in Guinea-Conakry, we are midwives. We have come here for a short time to clean up the mess that has been with us. We have come here to clean up the mess that the French have always created. We have come here to ensure that the insurgency, which is sponsored by the French in Burkina Faso, which is sponsored by them in Mali, which is sponsored by them in Niger, which is sponsored by them in Guinea-Conakry, that this insurgency will eliminate it and will introduce a new system of governance which will allow the peoples of our country to participate in their governance without being controlled from Paris. They are saying that we have been puppets for too long. We are now regaining our independence, and this revolution is a revolution which is unique, is a revolution which is being defined and refined by young Africans whose agenda is the spirit of Pan-Africanism. The Sahelian revolution is a revolution which will change the continent of Africa and redefine Africa's relationship with the former colonizers. In order to understand the Sahel, we must go back to the year 1958, when Charles de Gaulle governed France. And when Charles de Gaulle and his administration took the decision that their former colonies would be granted independence, and asked that they vote no or yes. Yes, to mean that you would regain something called independence, but you would remain under France. No, to mean that the French would run away. Only two countries voted no: Algeria under Ahmed Ben Bella and Guinea under Ahmed Sékou Touré. The rest of the countries remained under the tutelage of France and have remained so, controlled politically and economically, including their currency, the CFA franc. So that recently, in the 21st century, when young men in the military took the decision that they would change things, it was something that shocked the French and shocked the world. Shocked the French because they said, we are now gaining our independence. What we had was not independence. And I listened so very keenly to Doumbouya in Guinea-Conakry. I listened very keenly to Aïta in Niger. I listened very keenly to Traoré in Burkina Faso, and their message was clear. There are those who said within ECOWAS that Mali must not, when we talked about Mali at that time, they said Mali must be expelled from ECOWAS. And they came and they warned that they were going to attack Mali, but the Malians said, no, we are going to protect our newly acquired independence. The same message came from Guinea, the same message came from Niger, the same message came from Burkina Faso. And there is now unanimity within the Sahel that the time is now to redefine their relationship with France particularly. Let us understand why that redefinition of relationship is important. It is important at two levels, at the political level and at the economic level. We start with Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is a country that was formerly known as Upper Volta. When via coup d'etat, Thomas Isidore Sankara took power in 1983, he said we must rename our country. And he renamed the country Burkina Faso. And he renamed the people the Burkinabe, the country of upright men. And he said that the time...
Hello, brothers and sisters. Now, there is hope in everything we do. And there is hope for a dead tree. I say this because I know most of black people around the world, most of the diaspora, and most of Africans have already given up on the unity of black people. They have already given up that there is a time that will come, all these social injustices being committed against black people, all these police brutality being committed against black people will come to an end. People are giving up. And I say, and I continue saying this, there is a lot of hope that we can still unite ourselves. Now, Martin Luther King started this movement. He started the movement. He started agitating for the rights of black people. He started by actually calling out on the white system to respect black people. He came out and talked about how the police brutality and how the government was only working for some few people of a given race, and that the most people in the diaspora were suffering. Some of them without jobs, some of them gone to school, qualified, but they cannot get job because of their color. Now, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X talked about these things, but the white system made sure that they were eliminated, that they could not continue with the same message. They made sure that the black man's voice was actually cut off. Now, it never stopped there. We've had people who have been talking, people who have been lethal with the truth, talking about how we can elevate Africa, how we can actually bring Africa together, bring the diaspora together, and make sure that it works for all black people. Now, there is need for us to actually talk about the Pan-Africanists who have been talking about the unity of Africa, been talking about bringing the children of Africa back home and making sure that they invest in Africa, the little they have, or those ones who want to stay or live in Africa can do so. So there is need for us to respect this. There is need for us to respect the movement. Now, I'm very grateful that I'm living in a time when the African leaders are actually seeing whatever has been done to the diaspora and whatever has been done to the Caribbean. A time is coming when all black people are going to unite. Malcolm X said this some years ago, and they did not like the messenger. Now, they killed the messenger, but the message still remained the same, that there is a time black people are going to unite. And Malcolm X, in one of his very viral clips before he died, in an interview, he said that the day that the black man will see ahead and he will see that the white system has never was meant and was placed there to hurt them and to make sure they never prosper in a white America, that's when they will unite themselves and actually the Babylon will collapse. We are actually seeing this happening right now, that the black man has seen ahead and he has seen that in unity a lot great things can happen, and a lot of black people are coming together. The African continent is coming together. Now we have started seeing leaders talking about a borderless Africa. We've started seeing leaders in the Caribbean trying to unite with Africa. We've seen prime ministers like the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, talking about uniting Barbados with Ghana and making direct flights with Ghana and Nigeria and Africa. So when these things are happening, this was a prophecy by Martin Luther King that there is a day coming that all black folks will not need someone to agitate for their rights. They will not need someone to talk on their behalf, that all black people will come together and talk for their rights. Now, this is actually happening, and the Western countries are so much concerned about the unity of Africans and the unity of the diaspora. Now, they have always tried in their best way possible to frustrate any efforts by black people to unite. Now, in 2008 in Africa, they convened a special meeting in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and the message was one, and the message was very clear: to unite Africa and make Africa a borderless continent. Then they wanted to have a single president in Africa. Now, this frustrated the Western countries so much, in that they wanted to know whose idea was that. Now, this idea did not come just yesterday. This idea began in Africa in 1957. You must remember the first president of Ghana. Now, Kwame Nkrumah actually drafted the whole African Union thing, and he wanted the whole Africa to unite, that each country after getting independent, they were to unite and have a single president. Now, they accused Kwame Nkrumah of wanting to be the president of Africa and wanting to divide Africa the more. Now, they overthrew him out of power. That never stopped. When this idea came out in 2002, African Union was formed. And after African Union was formed, Muammar Gaddafi very lively came out with this idea also, and he said this is the time to unite Africa. And I think that was the biggest mistake Muammar Gaddafi made, talking about the unity of Africa. They do not want to hear anything that touches on the unity of black people. Now, Muammar Gaddafi had talked about calling the African diaspora back home and making Africa a single state or a single country, and removing all the borders that were placed by the colonial masters, and making sure that Africa has one currency, Africa has one president, Africa has one military system. Now, all these led to the accusations of him being named an international terrorist by one of our own, Barack Obama. Then the Barack Obama administration went on and facilitated the opposition, overthrew him out of power, and he was killed in a very unclear circumstances. So these things have been happening for a long time, and it is us to see this. Thomas Sankara started by saying that Africa needs a renaissance. We need to unite. We need to talk one with one voice in Africa. What did they do to Thomas Sankara? Now, when Patrice Lumumba of Congo started uniting the two factors, the DRC and the Republic of Congo, I don't know, the two countries, whatever happened, you all know. Now, they do not want anyone who talks about the unity of Africa. They hate every other person who tries to unite Africa. And the latest case is that of the Tanzanian president who died in unclear circumstances during the COVID-19 times. Now, he had first started by liberating his own country, by saying no to the Western countries, by saying no to the Western loans, by chasing the IMF and the Western puppets who were everywhere in his government. This did not end well with him. They frustrated him and they made sure he was eliminated. Now, when anyone in Africa tries to talk about the unity of Africa, he becomes a dictator and he becomes he becomes an international criminal. And we have so many dictators in Africa who call themselves democratics, and they are well funded by the Western countries. They are well connected to the Western banks and all these other stuffs, that they are well protected by these Western countries, because they have allowed the Western countries to dominate Africa, to loot Africa to its knees, and to make sure that they cause chaos and mayhem in Africa, so that they continue doing the same. How many US military bases do we have in Africa? And how many military bases, African countries' military bases, do we have in the US? Zero. And you ask yourself, is the US controlling Africa? Is France controlling Africa? Why do we say we are sovereign when we still listen to whatever they tell us? Why do we say that we are sovereign when we still use the dollar to transact every business in Africa? Why and where did we go wrong? Why are we messing up the countries that have mineral resources, the countries that are rich, just to please some other few individuals who sit in White House and who reside in Paris? It is time for us to talk about Africa. It is time for us to talk about the unity of black people. This is a message to the diaspora. This is a message to everyone who is listening to and watching this video, that a lot has been done to Africa. A lot will still be done to Africa until the day African countries are going to unite. The African leaders are going to unite. Until then, we are not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel will always be darker. The tunnel will always have crocodiles. The tunnel will always have pricks. So it is time for us to talk about the truth and to save ourselves from the mess that has been happening. Thank you so much for having taken the time to watch this video. Brothers and sisters, appreciate so much. If it's your first time on this channel, please consider subscribing, sharing, commenting, and liking the video. Thank you very much.